Week 5 of college football is just over the horizon, but I want to go back to week 4 and take a look at which 2023 NFL draft prospects helped their stock, hurt the stock. This is the stock report. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. We'll have a mock draft out for you later today or tomorrow. One or two haven't decided yet. And by the way, I only list out 10 guys every week on this list, but I try to talk about some others as we talk about maybe some certain positions or certain matchups. So let's go ahead and get into this. And I want to start with DJ Ukulele. I think I nailed it. I call him DJ Ukulele because I think that sounds cool as heck, but I'm gonna call him DJ U for the sake of this video. He had a heck of a showing. DJ U is back. Last year never looked confident, never looked comfortable. This year's been a different story. Went in, beat Wake Forest, threw for 5 touchdowns. The guy is good. Former 5-star recruit from the 2020 class. Did play a little bit during his freshman year when Trevor Lawrence went down, and then the 2021 season just didn't look good. But there's a reason why a lot of people were high on him. He is one of the biggest arms in the country. He is capable of making most NFL throws. He puts real nice touch on the football along the sideline. He has good size, a very strong build for the position. He's sturdy. He's tough in the pocket. He will follow through with throws as he's getting hit. He's done a better job of setting his feet this year on throws when he does have to escape the pocket. Does a good job of resetting, planting, and throwing. He is mobile as well. Bit of a power runner, if you will. He can pick up yards with his feet that way and just absorbs contact in the pocket, outside the pocket. He does good to power through tackles. He also does a good job of selling fakes with his shoulders and his head movement. He's improved through his progressions, and he could legit drop the ball over the middle of the field, and I think that was well apparent in the Wake Forest game. But a lot of the things in 2020, which I feel like 2020 just might be a mulligan. Throw that away. Right now we're in a draft class. It's like, okay, it's Young, it's Stroud, and then who? Like Tanner McKee, Tyler Van Dyke basically has talked himself out of being drafted this year, at least from the first part of the season. Anthony Richardson's like, the tools are great, but he's still a bit iffy as a passer. Will Levis, in my opinion, still iffy as a passer. Like DJ U, I think could emerge at least as quarterback 3 in this class. I like his hats. He's throwing his hat back in the ring, but a part of that last year was, again, the lack of confidence, him not looking comfortable. He was very conservative with the football, would hold on to it for far too long. When he was pressured, there were a lot of panic throws and just forced throws, and those are never good. A lot of those turned into turnovers. He relied a bit too much on his arm. This year looks like he's got a little bit more hip rotation. The accuracy isn't all over the place. And again, this dude, he plants his feet. He doesn't play with antsy feet anymore. So it's like there's a lot to like. Like he is back in it, in my opinion. So watch out, DJ U. He is back. But this is a cat I want to talk about, and I'm pretty confident he probably won't come out this year, but a lot of people want to bring him up with Kansas's hot rise, and that's Jaylon Daniels out of Kansas. As Kansas, they're 4-0 for the first time in feels like forever. But Daniels is just straight up fun to watch. He's a former 3-star recruit from the 2020 class, and he made 6 starts as a freshman for Kansas. And then in 2021, he actually started the final 3 games for Kansas. And this year's been the starter, and it obviously it's been money. He came up huge against Duke, where he had 5 total touchdowns this past weekend. Dude's just a great athlete. Like, he's a twitched up athlete, just so dangerous out in space. Rare athlete for the position. Dude has a big arm too. Legit, he can flick his wrist, and it feels like it's flying like 40 yards easy. He throws with a lot of zip. He could throw the ball on a rope if he needs to, but there's some touch passes too on his repertoire for this season. He gets the ball out of his hand fairly quickly. Now let's talk about why I don't think he's coming out this year and what are going to be some of the hesitancies when it comes to him as an NFL prospect, because we could first start with the height. Just not an ideal height for a quarterback at that 6 foot, maybe even sub 6 feet. And you could see that it affects when he wants to throw over the middle, because he has to throw in a variety of different arm angles to get it over the middle. There are multiple cases of him having to literally, like, he steps up in the pocket and he'll do kind of like a jump pass, kind of like hop to like get the ball over the offensive line. So that's going to be a big concern in the NFL. Also, he's in an offense where it's like primarily it's run heavy. It relies on what he sees out there. But when he does go back to pass, he's really making maybe 1, maybe 2 reads at the most before he's like, nah, get out of Dodge. It's basically this whole, if your first read's not open, look to run the football, use those feet you are gifted with. Now, when he does go through multiple, I guess you would say progressions, he has a knack of just staring down guys on routes for way too long. He'll sit on routes for way too long and he'll stare down his targets. He doesn't know, or at least doesn't give the illusion he might be going somewhere else with the football. He doesn't have any shoulder fakes, head fakes, doesn't deceive guys with a little bit of the eye candy. That's just not him. Also, small sample size. This is his first season in collegiate football as a full-time starter. He's made spot starts here and there, but this is like the ball's in your hands. You are the leader of the offense. So, in all honesty, this guy still has a lot more film he needs to put on tape before we can make a really good evaluation of him, and that's why I don't think he'll come out this year. But again, the year's still young. We'll get a whole season to take a look and come to a conclusion when it comes to Jaylon Daniels. But dude is playing some good football. A guy that you'll see on the thumbnail, Hendon Hooker. I haven't threw him up here yet, but like I was very impressed this past week against Florida, because it looked like he was actually going through progressions. Typically he's about maybe a couple of reads and he's run the football. It's a very vertical based offense, but he was making throws over the middle of the field. I get it, age is going to be a big thing with him because he's going to be 25 by the time of the beginning of his rookie season. But he doesn't. I honestly don't think I think he's a guy that could probably play quarterback in the NFL. Whether that's maybe a late day 2 or somewhere on day 3 options, yet to be seen. But Hooker, I see you. I likes you. I wants you. But yeah, he's playing really good football. Now I want to go to the because I ain't gonna be talking about Tyler Van Dyke, the abysmal performance. Feel like I've talked enough about Anthony Richardson for now, so let's kind of like let him sit, watch him a few games before we come back to him. I want to talk about some new prospects on the channel, and we're going to do that at the running back position with Trey Benson from Florida State. Not even like the main back there, but I think he's probably the most NFL back. Like this is like he's a legit, I think, a running back prospect. Like, and will he come out this year? I don't know, but I kind of feel like he could, because the mileage is exceptionally low. This guy, like, legitimately this season is his first time really seeing a lot of play, like back at Oregon. I guess let's go back to his past for a little bit, but overall, like, this guy has like barely, like maybe 40 career touches over the last 3 seasons. Now, he was a 4-star recruit in the 2020 class, and he also played defensive back in high school. And as a freshman going to Oregon, he ended up having to redshirt his freshman season because while he was on the scout team, he had a major knee injury. It was non-contact. It was pretty bad. He returned in 2021, but if you know Oregon, you were stuck behind the depth of Travis Dye and CJ Verdell. So he decides to basically transfer at the end of the season, and he goes to Florida State, where he's not even the main back. You got Ward there, But this dude's been the most impressive. This guy's electric. Anytime he touches the football, he can take it to the house at any given moment. Just this past week, he had a 93-yard kick return to open the game up. This guy, I think, might have legit like return chops. But let's talk about him as a run back. He has like 37 carries and I think like 32 forced missed tackles. That's ridiculous. Like, and his yards after contact, I think it's above 6 yards per yards after contact. That's ridiculous. That's unimaginable. Like, this cat, like, he gets to the second level quick. Like, he first off, patience, very patient, shows good vision. Once he sees daylight, or at least enough for him to be like, I think I'm going to go through that. He explodes, drops his foot, plants it, goes, gets that second level exceptionally quickly. He also plays with a very good pad level when he is around the line of scrimmage, waiting for those holes to develop. Guy's got great speed, but legit, like, you can't arm tackle this cat. It literally looks like he walked through arm tackles like they're not even there. Doesn't slow him down. It's ridiculous. It really is. Like, and I love that this dude never stops his feet. Like, and with just legitimately, you're basically buying him. Like, if he comes down in this draft, I have my doubts just because the sample size is so small, but it is like a new car right off the lot. You're working with almost no miles. There will be concerns with the knee, but he has looked good thus far. Really, really good. If I really were to critique things, it's just the sample size is so small, and he's hardly ever used on passing downs. Like, so we really don't know what he does as a pass blocker. He only has one career reception. So it's like, that is a total question mark. But Benson's a guy that I've been keeping my eye on since, it was Duquesne. And then I was like monitoring him in the LSU game. And then this Boston College game was really just like, I think I really like this prospect. And I'm probably going to have him pretty high up my board, even without the sample size. Like, you look at that, you look at how much mileage he doesn't have. Like, you'll love it. You'll love to see it. And then on to my next one is Tavion Robinson out of Kentucky. He's there playing receiver for Kentucky. He had a big game against Northern Illinois this past week where he had 7 receptions for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 tutties. Former Virginia Tech receiver here in Tavion Robinson. Former 4-star in high school, literally played quarterback, run back, wide receiver. He was their return man and also played defensive back. Did it all. Played 4 years of basketball as well, and was basically almost an instant starter as soon as he suited up for the Hokies. Decided to transfer to Kentucky this season, and he's been pretty good. The big knock on him will probably be, you look at his size. It's not ideal size or length, and he plays a lot in the slot over the last 2 years. He's primarily been a slot guy, but he's very good in that role. He does a good job of finding the soft spots and coverage. But he's probably going to be pigeonholed into the slot, which means, man, that's kind of a dime a dozen skill set, unless you're like extraordinary. What else are you bringing to the table? He brings legit return skills. This guy's a really good punt returner. When we're talking about him as a route, he's not really an explosive athlete in my regard, which is kind of weird to say, because like this cat, you see him flying around the field, but he's not. Like, he's not sudden during the routes. He doesn't really explode off the line or out his breaks. He doesn't have that smaller, I guess you would say, smaller receiver type of skill set as you would expect. But what he is freaking amazing after the catch. Dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's shifty. He does a good, he's literally like a running back once he gets the ball, which doesn't surprise me that they use him on screens a ton, because like he lets blocks develop and then he goes. He goes. This is a guy that can legitimately stretch the field horizontally. When it comes to him as a ball carrier, another guy that runs through arm tackles pretty well. When he does take on contact, he's constantly moving his feet and trying to going forward for extra yards. Kind of hard to bring down in that regard. And I believe he's been among the league leaders over the past few seasons in forced missed tackles at the receiver position. So you like to see all that. But what really I think would make him draftable, at least in that 5th to 7th round area, is that return man skill set. Had a big game this past weekend, and really just want to talk about him because I really haven't yet on the channel. So wanted to throw him out here as one of my kind of late day 3 guys that I'm really digging. And we're going to talk about the hog mollies and John Michael Smits. Might be the best interior player in this class. If not for his age, he will be 24 by the time he suits up for the NFL. But this dude's a feisty center. Feisty. This is a part of the reason like this Minnesota offense has been very successful. They got a veteran quarterback in Tanner Morgan, who is not a legitimate quarterback prospect, if you were wondering. Mo Ibrahim has been very good for him, another veteran running back there. And the offensive line has been very good, and a lot of that is because of JMS over here. I wouldn't say he possesses overwhelming strength. He just plays with a lot of ferocity and grit, and that just mean demeanor that the freaking NFL loves. It's just who he is and what he brings just spells out bad day for the defenders. Really does. He's got these long, meaty hooks, arms, if you will, and that like once he latches on, you're stuck dancing with him. You're not letting go like until the end of the play. Like this dude shows good footwork, great contact balance. He has that body type to play either guard or center, though he's played center his whole career. The movement skills aren't half bad. He likes to attack the point of contact ferociously. I feel like I've used that word 6 times, but that's kind of the adjective you got to use when you talk about John Michael Smits. And this dude, he's a natural, I would say, really for any scheme. You look at him and it's like, gap blocking scheme, like a power blocking scheme. But like, I legit think he could play at any blocking scheme in the NFL. What's probably going to keep him out of like that first round discussion if we're talking about the interior? One's age. 2 is there are times where he gets thrown around by stupid strong defensive tackles. While he's like a natural mover, he doesn't have elite quicks or elite twitch. With the age and just his physical tools, it just doesn't say first rounder. But I think at this point he's kind of a lock for day 2. This guy's an NFL player. All right, we've been talking a lot of good stuff, so let's go with the stock down. And we're going to go to the linebacker class in Noah Sewell. And you'd be like, Noah Sewell, stock down. He's like linebacker 2, linebacker 1 for some guys. Perhaps, but some of the concerns that I had going into the season, they're just still there. They really are. This past game, he showed what he can do when it comes to getting after the quarterback. But he also showed that he really doesn't, I don't want to say know what he's doing in coverage, but he just doesn't have that feel for coverage, that prowess in coverage. Allowed a TD. His completion rate allowed like 85%. If you're a linebacker, you want to keep it. If you're at least going to be, I think, in my opinion, a starting linebacker in the NFL, you want to keep it between 70 to 80%. And missed tackles still are kind of a thing with him. And if you're going to be one of those guys who don't have very good coverage skills, then you got to be at least able to minimize gains after the catch, and he's just not doing that. Like the missed tackle rate's still up there, and it's my biggest concern. It's ultimately, I think, what's going to land him in day 2 if it doesn't get better. We still got a lot of season left to be played, but it is definitely something to monitor. I was already, I think last week, I talked about Justin Flo and how it just looks like he's not going to be coming out in the NFL this year. It's just not been an ideal year for him. And Noah Sewell, like, I don't know, maybe it was the matchup where you got a Washington offense that is like very quick, fast pace, and will nickel and dime down the field. to score. Maybe that's part of the reason, but man, I like legit Noah Sewell. Like he's like this good thumper linebacker, but in today's NFL, that just spells liability right now. So Noah Sewell, I'm cooling down. He's still easily a top 5 linebacker for me, just what he brings physically, but I'm just not that happy with his with the missed tackles and the coverage prowess. Now let's keep this sad train rolling. And I likely talked about this guy yesterday. I haven't recorded the video, but you're probably going to get it on Monday. I'm going to go over Mel Kiper's top 25 big board. But Mel Kiper mentioned Daya Hensley. There we go. Or Henley, excuse me, out of Washington State. So we're sticking with the same game here. And I get why Mel Kiper loved him. And I mean, straight up, I will say this, that Mel Kiper put his top 25 together before this past weekend, but he did not have a good game this past week. Had 6 tackles, had a pressure, wasn't really used that much as a blitzer like he has been recently for Washington State, but he allowed 4 receptions for 36 yards, but 2 of them went for touchdowns, and coverage was kind of the big thing for him. Now let's talk about Henley real quick, as he was a 2-star recruit from the 2017 class, and he was recruited as a wide receiver and played wide receiver and returner for the first 3 years of his career at Nevada. He suffered a season-ending injury in 2019 as he was making the transition to the defense, whether they weren't sold that if he was going to be a box safety or a linebacker just yet, but he made that full transition in 2020, played all 9 games. And then in 2021, he played all 12 games, leading the Wolfpack in tackles, and made second team all Mountain West. Then he transferred to Washington State, and it looked like Washington State, man, they were going to use this guy because, like, straight up, might be one of the fastest linebackers in the country. This guy flies. He's a former wide receiver, and guess what? That also means he has legit ball skills. He had 4 interceptions for Nevada in 2021. Like, he shows a versatile skill set, and easily coming into this game was one of the best coverage linebackers in the nation. I would say he's been one of the better coverage linebackers since 2020. And he really has that, like, he could fly off the edge, and he just was never utilized consistently as a blitzer for Nevada. But Washington State was starting to use him as that. Didn't really use him like that in this game, however. I believe he only had a pressure. I think he only had like 5 or 7 pass rushing snaps, which I want to see this guy rush the passer a bit more. I know you love what he does in coverage, but, like, come on, man. Like, utilize this guy. Be a bit more, I guess, open-minded and creative with how you utilize him. This dude shows really good balance to when blockers try to take him on, and he does a good job of staying clean off contact. And honestly, he's a better tackler than you would expect for a guy that's a former wide receiver. However, had 2 missed tackles in this game. He is a former wide receiver after all, just made the transition to linebacker. So it makes sense that tackling isn't, like, his tackling's just not sound yet. He doesn't always take the cleanest routes to ball carriers. He lacks that physicality for the position. Like, he really needs to add a little bit of mass to his frame, because he is a bit stickish out there, and if a blocker can get a clean hold of him, he's basically dead in the water. So, like, I like where Kiper's head's at. I really like this prospect, but I'm not seeing first rounder just yet. Again, long season, off game against Oregon. We'll see him in other good matchups as the season goes on, but in a linebacker class that's honestly, I don't want to say not that good, but not that girthy at least. It's good to see some good talent start to emerge, though. But let's keep this rolling. We're going to keep on the down train and talk about Taiwan Mullen, cornerback out of Indiana. Didn't have a great game this past weekend. Did have an interception, but he allowed 2 touchdowns. Also allowed over 135 yards. They were taking on Cincinnati this past week. But you look at 5'10", 181. This dude, like through and through, man. This guy is a slot corner, but he's used on the outside, and you can kind of get by on that in college football. But like through and through, I think he's gonna end up being a slot defender. He shows good ball skills. I love the quicks. He's actually really good defending the run, but he's just not. I don't think he's a guy that can win on the boundary. Like he's been great for Indiana over the course of his career when on the boundary, but I just like him better in the slot. He can be a bit stiff with his hips, or at least when he transitions out of a true back pedal. And I know last year he was slowed down by a foot injury, but like, man, like this dude's feisty. He's not gonna let guys win for free. It just happened to happen in this game, and it went to the house a couple of times. But this dude's good, man. He's a really good. He's been really good for Indiana. He shows really good anticipation and off coverage. He's willing to come up and defend the run. Again, been one of the better run corners or run defenders at the corner position in college football for the past few years. I like the change of direction. I like I like how he explodes downhill, the downhill burst. And the dude's just been a solid tackler for a corner, 11% missed tackle rate. It's just, I think just on the outside, just not where he's meant to be, even though he's played there a bulk of his career. And in a corner class that some guys are falling, some guys, and there's only really a handful of guys making names for themselves. I don't think Mullen is currently one of them. But let's turn this around. Let's start talking about some stock up. I want to talk the linebacker position, Ivan Pace Jr. I might absolutely be sold on this cat. Not a first round. I don't want to even say yet, but I just don't see him as a first rounder. Just in terms of the lack of length and the lack of, I don't even want to say, like I say physicality, but it's more so when he has to take on guys around the line of scrimmage. But this guy was wonderful. 12 tackles this past week against Indiana. 8 pressures, 3 sacks. Like, he's such a smooth and quick athlete. He bounces around the line of scrimmage very well, and he does a good job of not letting blockers get a hand on him. He shows that sideline to sideline speed. He does a good job squaring up with ball carries. He reads and reacts extremely well. Always puts himself in positions to make plays in coverage. Plays with a high motor. Pursues till the whistle. Very powerful hitter. Fills lanes effectively. Just does a great job timing his blitzes and closing in on the quarterback. It's just there are times where he gets put on his back by linemen. I mean, that's going to happen. He occasionally does slip off tacklers in the open field. And while I say he's a smooth athlete, I don't want to say he's elite, but this dude's been playing really good football, and I think he's been emerging as like, yeah, I think this guy's probably going to end up as a day 2 linebacker in this class. So which is good, man. Because this linebacker class is sus. It's sus. It really is. And last name on the list here, we're going back to the Oregon-Washington State game because I watched it most recent, and it's Christian Gonzalez. I think he's a first round corner. I really do. I think I'm sold. I'm sold all the way. Send it. In a corner class where you got guys like Eli Ricks not being able to see the field. You got Cam Smith had to be held out of his big matchup against Georgia. Garrett Williams has had some up and down showings. Overall, it's been pretty good for Garrett Williams, though. And it's like you're looking for guys to kind of emerge. I think Gonzalez is that guy. If you don't know, he was a former 4-star recruit, played wide receiver in high school, also ran track. Dude's exceptionally fast. Like, he ran a 21.6 second 200 meter in the Texas State Championship. His father played basketball at UTEP and also played in Columbia for a little bit. His older sisters are track stars in the 400-meter hurdles and the 4x4-meter relay. And he ended up going to Colorado, and in a shortened 2020 Pac-12 season, He really did. He started all 6 games, played exceptionally well, ended up being the starter in 2021, and then entered the transfer portal because we all know Colorado is kind of a bottom feeder when it comes to the Power Five. He goes to Oregon because he's following his former cornerback coach to Oregon, and like legit, like this dude's been nice to start the year. Like he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Like for just how fast and how sticky this dude's coverage is. Nice blend of size, speed, length, athleticism. He sinks low in his back pedal. He explodes downhill. Got the short area quicks. He's tough against the run. He could be a bit better of a finisher as a tackler, but still, 13% missed tackle rate ain't bad for a corner. The press technique, it's great. This dude has the speed to threaten on vertical routes. Like he will run with anybody out there. He shows great closing speed, and like many times he is in position to make a play on other teammates' assignments if he's coming off of coverage. Like the dude has just been wonderful in this past game against Washington State, a game where they passed the ball a ton. He only allowed 2 receptions on 6 targets for 30 yards, had 6 tackles. Like the dude is just good. For me, he's probably, it's a fight for cornerback too right now, like because Joey Porter's been pretty darn good. I'm gonna have to go back and watch what Porter's done recently. I don't think I've I watched the Auburn game, so I didn't see the last game they had against Central Michigan, which Central Michigan did put points on Penn State early. So I'm gonna go back. I'm kind of curious to see how that outing went, but I'm kind of stuck between the two when it comes to cornerback too. But let me know who are some of your favorite guys in this class, who impressed you during the week. And that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.